President Cyril Ramaphosa has been cleared of any wrongdoing in yet another probe into the theft of foreign currency on his Phala Phala farm 3 years ago.
The Reserve Bank yesterday found that Ramaphosa and his company Ndabanyoni Estate did not contravene exchange control regulations. Now, in this report, the report says that the president was not obliged to declare the millions made from the sale of buffalo, as the animals were never delivered to the buyer.
Last year, former spy boss Arthur Fraser lodged a criminal complaint accusing the president of concealing the burglary on his farm. Ramaphosa has already been cleared of any wrongdoing by acting public protector Koleka Xalega.
Meanwhile, the DA's federal chairperson, Dr. Dion George, says that the Reserve Bank governor has agreed to appear before a parliamentary finance committee.
I mean, they're saying that this transaction did not get completed, therefore he was not entitled to have the money, and therefore they can't find him in contravention of the exchange control regulations. Now, they are ignoring a very big part of the story, and that very big part is the apparent fact that there was dollar currency, real dollar currency notes, hidden in furniture for an extended period of time, and that most likely was exceeding the legal limits, for how long you can hold on to foreign currency. So they do need to actually say something about that. The governor did, in fact, write me a letter. I received it this morning, basically saying that he would be appearing before our finance committee on the 30th of August. Did they not take into consideration the fact that there were these dollars and that they were there, even though the transaction was not perfected, as they say, which is correct. But we want to know that. I have also indicated that I'm going to write to the governor. I'm going to do that and ask him for the report or a redacted copy of that report, because I do think that the South African public has a right to know whether the president has broken any of the financial laws that he needs to uphold.
Let's bring your reaction to that story. We're joined by the IFP's Deputy Chief Whip, Zandile Majozi. Ms. Majozi, good evening to you. Thanks for your time tonight. So, firstly, let's talk about the actual findings, statement by the Reserve Bank. As things stand, we don't have any idea of what's in that report in its totality, say for the statement that has been issued by the Reserve Bank. Your initial impressions of the findings of that investigation?
No, thank you very much, Ketin Kasana and Tembegile Mrototo. As the Inkatha Freedom Party, we are dismayed but not surprised by the Reserve Bank's evasion of any attempt at a proper investigation and finding in respect of the President Ramaphosa holding on to declaring the US dollars currency at his Phala Phala farm. The South African Reserve Bank clearly has different rules for different persons. We are all equal before the law, but a few amongst us are more equal than the others. This two-page summary of the report is totally unacceptable, and as the IFP, we call on the full disclosure of the report by the South African Reserve Bank, as it is in the public interest to do so. And if you give this report to an ordinary South African who will read this report, they will not even understand what is it that is said there. And we must find out whether the president is found at fault and the findings do so, or the president is not. Not this confusion of the two-page report that has been released. And we are not happy as the IFP. We want a full disclosure of the report, because we believe that public has an interest in this, and they need to know whether they do have a president that has integrity and also a South African law that is transparent at all times.
What you're saying is really critical here. In order for South Africans to fully be able to make sense of the investigation that was conducted by the Reserve Bank and how it came to this conclusion, that in order for that to take place, we certainly need a lot more information. Of course, we know the Reserve Bank Governor Lesetja Kganyago is going to be before Parliament's Finance Committee later this month, I understand it. That in and of itself could well be an opportunity for a party like yours to raise relevant questions?
We are definitely going to raise questions and would plead with the South African Reserve Bank to disclose to the public of the findings, and so that then we know that whether the president is cleared, because there is money that has been received. And if then this is what we are, the perception that is put out there, that any South African can just have foreign currency and not declare it to the South African Reserve Bank, then it leaves a room for dissatisfaction as the IFP, that we can't have leaders that cannot declare, which means we are then portraying that image that all South Africans can do as they please whenever.
One of the reasons that has been given by the Reserve Bank for why this report has not been made public or will not be made public is that, it has legal constraints, as this is a private and an internal report. There's no doubt in my mind that we're certainly, if the Reserve Bank, upon the request of various parties, does not make this report public, we're in all likelihood also going to see court action in relation to the Public Access to Information and Accountability Act.
Yes, you are quite correct. When we read through the report, we saw that there were sections that were quoted, that in terms of this section, they can then disclose the whole report. It must be an internal report, because there's a legal matter, and also they've sought more legal advice. And then that also gives us a lot of concern that you seek more legal advice on this report based on what? Because then we must understand, why are you seeking legal advice? And as well, why are you then quoting these sections when it only comes to a certain person or a certain leader in government? Because we must all be equal in the South African law. And if it was another person, would that person be treated the same way? With these sections, they would be quoted that it is an internal report. They can't share it, but we are waiting for the report in Parliament. And when it comes there, we are going to engage with the report, and we are going to raise critical issues and concerns that we have with the report.
Of course, the Reserve Bank also states that its mandate, in as far as this investigation is concerned, was very, very narrow. That, it was looking at the violation of exchange controls, just particularly in terms of the exchange controls regulations of 1961, and that's in relation of foreign currency. Now, it says that where there may have been any other breaches of law or statute, those are not within the realm of the ambit of the South African Reserve Bank. They lie with other state institutions, other authorities. And that, to me, of course, raises the question of where we are, let's say, with the Hawks and its investigation into Phala Phala. Right now, of course, it is still one of the entities as an investigating body that has not given us an update.
It's true. There are many entities that were involved, even the public protector, as we have seen that they've released a report as well that they've not found the president guilty of. But there are any findings within the Phala Phala farm that links directly to the president. But also the Hawks must give us that report, and we are still waiting for that report. This report of the South African Reserve Bank took almost a year or over a year to finish the report, and we do acknowledge that there were restrictions in terms of policies and regulations that they were following. But for over a year investigating only the findings of a framework that you are given, then it leaves a room for concern as well. That why would you spend almost a year only if you have a framework that you are working with, and you are only focusing on certain issues of finance only, and you are not looking at the broad report itself. And also, we will wait for the Hawks to release their reports, but I don't have hope anymore that we are going to get any response that will be satisfactory to South Africans out there. I do believe with this report that we've just received now, that South Africans are not put as a priority, that they should receive a first-hand report, and they should know what is happening actually in their country, and also with their leaders that they have chosen to lead them. What is it that is at stake? But currently, what we are looking at really raises a lot of concerns. And we, as the IFP, we are not happy. We would ask for the transparency, and would ask that for as long as we've got leaders, we must have leaders with integrity, and everything must be transparent, because they are leading us, they are leading South Africa, and they've got public funds within. And it was declared, I mean, that there is money that the president received, and also Mustafa is still waiting for the stock that he bought. So if there is something that is bought, which means there is a transaction that happened, but that transaction was not declared. I mean, it's $580,000 of cash that was found in the Phala Phala farm.
Right.
And the president admitted himself that he knows that there is such funds in his Phala Phala farm. So honestly, we must be taken seriously as South Africans, and we deserve the disclosure of the full report.
All right. Zandile Majozi is the Deputy Chief Whip of the IFP. So certainly then a lot more questions, I think, than answers as this report out of the Reserve Bank is interrogated. And I use the word report, of course, quite cautiously, because we have a statement from the Reserve Bank. We actually do not have the report.
And it'll be interesting to see if we'll ever actually be able to get access to the full reading, given what the Reserve Bank has said and what now the opposition parties are saying is basically a determination to, A, firstly put questions to the governor. If that is still not to their satisfaction, they will want to see the full reading.
All right.